Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel that takes you deep inside the San Francisco 49ers. I am your host, Jack Hammer, and today I wanted to go over what we've learned about the 49ers quarterbacks from the game on Sunday. All three of them, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Trey Lance, wanted to go over all of it. And I think the biggest takeaway from the game on Sunday is that it's clear that Brock Purdy is quarterback one for the San Francisco 49ers, and Trey Lance's performance on Sunday, the performance of Sam Darnold on Sunday, showed you why Brock Purdy is QB1. You look at it overall, and here's how it works out. One of the most important things in Kyle Shanahan's offense is the ability of the quarterback to get the ball out on time, to see it, to throw it, and get it there. And that's one of the things that we saw from Brock Purdy as a rookie. Been a lot of talk this offseason about what Brock Purdy doesn't have. Doesn't have the size. He doesn't have the biggest arm. He doesn't have the measurables. That's 100% accurate to say that Brock Purdy doesn't have the measurables. That's why he went where he did in the draft. That's why he was taken at the end of the 7th round, because he doesn't have that big arm, doesn't have, the size. He's not 6'4", doesn't have the howitzer, all that kind of stuff. But what Brock Purdy has is the ability to get the ball out of his hands quickly. And that's something that we saw Trey Lance struggle with on Sunday against the Las Vegas Raiders. In fact, it's something that we've seen Trey Lance struggle with since he joined the 49ers, going back to his rookie season in 2021. I went through and I looked at some of the numbers. Yesterday, let's start off with yesterday as a starting point, since I'm talking about needing to get the ball out of your hands. The biggest difference from Trey Lance from the start of the game to where he finished was how decisive he was with getting the ball out to his receivers. The sacks in the beginning weren't on the offensive line. They were on Trey Lance not getting the ball out of his hands. When you call a quick 3-step drop, the offensive line isn't set up to sit there and protect for a long period of time. That quarterback needs to hit his 3rd step. The ball needs to come out, and that wasn't what was happening with Trey Lance early on. As it went along, he got more comfortable, started throwing the ball on time, on rhythm, and everything changed, and all of a sudden the offensive line looked better. But you look back at the numbers for Trey Lance yesterday, the biggest number that stood out isn't the fact that he was 10 of 14. It was 3.31. 3.31. That number represents the time to throw for Trey Lance against the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, it's not the first time that we've seen this. Last year, looking at Trey Lance's numbers during the regular season, the game and a half that he played for the 49ers before getting injured, actually a game and a quarter, his time to throw was 3.15. His rookie season, 3.37. I went back and I looked at the numbers for every quarterback that's played during this preseason. It's only week 1. Some guys have actually played 2 games. But I looked at all of the quarterbacks who had at least 20 dropbacks over the course of the preseason game so far. Trey Lance at 3.31 is the highest time to throw of any quarterback that's dropped back at least 20 times in this preseason so far. That is the worst number across the NFL. And that is one of the reasons why he struggled early on. Once he started getting the ball out on time, getting the ball out of his hands, all of a sudden he started doing better. And that's where the biggest improvement needs to come. And some of that is the lack of playing time that Trey Lance has had in the 49ers system since getting drafted. Some of that on Kyle Shanahan with, trying to use 2021 to develop him, get him better. And there's some folks who will, tell you that he's misguided in the way that he used Trey Lance. And I'll say this, Trey Lance didn't play in 2021 because he wasn't the best quarterback on the team. There was a quarterback competition. If you don't believe me that there was a quarterback competition, think about this for a second. In 2021, the 49ers went down and had a joint practice with the Los Angeles Chargers before their preseason game. In that preseason game, guess what happened? Jimmy Garoppolo played that week. Jimmy Garoppolo took the first series, Trey Lance took the second series, then Jimmy Garoppolo was in for the third, and they went back and forth. The only reason they did that was because those two were in a quarterback competition. Jimmy Garoppolo won. Trey Lance couldn't overcome that. And, you can argue with me and you can say that I'm still not correct. Well, here's the thing. In 2022, you didn't have a quarterback competition. They told you and they stuck with the fact that Trey Lance was going to be the quarterback. And that's why when they had the joint practices out in Minnesota, Lance didn't play in that game against the Vikings. Just like this week, when 49ers had their joint practices with the Raiders in Las Vegas, you didn't see Brock Purdy play. Wasn't even dressed at all for the game on Sunday against the Raiders. So Trey Lance had his shot in 2021. It didn't work out. And one of the biggest reasons that he hasn't worked out yet is that he's just not getting the ball out of his hands. And when you look through it, and the biggest thing with Lance is And I'm not sure exactly what it is. I'm not sure if it's because he's misdiagnosing the coverage. It could be some of that. It could also be that he's not trusting what he's seen. That could be part of it. Or the other part of it, and the worst part is, maybe he's seen it, or he just doesn't know what he's seen, and so he can't get the ball out because he's not sure what's out there. And I think that's where, we don't know because we're not in Trey Lance's body, but we can see that the ball isn't coming out on time like it should be. And then, to take this a step further, Sam Darnold steps in, and that was the biggest difference between Sam Darnold and Trey Lance in the performance that you saw, was that Sam Darnold came in, and every time he threw the ball, it was on rhythm. It was 1, 2, 3, balls out. One big step, balls out. Every time that he was throwing it, it was on time, it was quick, it was within rhythm, and that helps the offensive line look better. Trust me, the quarterback has a big role to play in how good the offensive line looks. If the quarterback doesn't get the ball where it's supposed to be, when it's supposed to be thrown, it makes the offensive line look bad, because as a fan, you don't know exactly what's happening, and I understand that. But I'm telling you, when it comes to Trey Lance, it comes to Sam Darnold, that's the biggest difference of the two. Now, did Sam Darnold look like he's going to take that job away as far as the backup from Trey Lance? I don't know if I'd go that far, because you saw Trey Lance struggle a little bit in the beginning and get better as he went along. You saw Sam Darnold start off good and then start to struggle a little bit as they went along. Again, he got the ball out in rhythm more often, but in terms of his results, I don't know if they were really quite there. And that's the difference, with Brock Purdy. He gets the ball out on time. He also has the ability to move. He does good things in those types of areas. And I think when you look at this 49ers quarterback competition, the other one, you look at Sam Darnold. I mentioned his name just a second ago. Sam Darnold's time to throw against the Raiders on Sunday, 2.7 seconds, nearly a half a second quicker than Trey Lance to get the ball out of his hands. It gets even crazier when you look at the other quarterback that played, Brandon Allen. Brandon Allen played the fourth quarter. His average time to throw on his 8 attempts, 2.19 seconds, a full second quicker than Trey Lance. The ball was coming out of Brandon Allen's hands. Now, with this offense, that's what you've got to do. It's the reads are not extremely difficult. The reads are usually pretty well determined by the routes and the way that Kyle Shanahan sets it up. And if you understand where you're supposed to look and where you're supposed to go with the ball, it's going to get out there quick. You look at Brock Purdy last year during the regular season. We're looking at regular season and postseason stats. 2.84 seconds time to throw for Brock Purdy. Still, half a second quicker than what Trey Lance put up yesterday, and half a second better than what Trey Lance has done for almost entire career over 3 years with the San Francisco 49ers. So there you have it. I think that is the biggest thing that we learned from the 49ers against the Raiders this last week. Brock Purdy, QB1, reason why he gets the ball out of his hands on time and to the right player. There you have it. Take it for what it's worth. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you could do me a favor, hit that like button. After you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And also turn on your notifications, because you're not going to want to miss any of the updates right here on Inside the 49ers with Jack Hammer. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Have a great day. We'll be talking with you soon.